tired of it? The thought of looking for a house and every time you think you're ready, the interest rate goes up? Well, I'm here to talk about rentals. I help clients find rentals too, and yes, the tide has turned a little, and a lot of people are putting it off. It might be 5 years. Either way, if you're moving to the Boston area and you want to live in the suburbs, or you want to live downtown where all the action is, or you want to live in Boston proper, which the neighborhoods feel like small towns, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to go about it. If you use an agent, it's easier. If you don't, you have a lot of research to do. But in the meantime, stick with me. I'll be right back with all the information. Number one, rent furnished. If you're definitely think you're going to buy something or you're testing out the area, rent a furnished apartment for 1, 2, or 3 months. There are many furnished rentals now. Even the big complex are getting into the act because people need that kind of flexibility. So you're going to pay a premium, but it's furnished. It has dishes and pots and pans and usually shampoo and that soap to last you at least the first week or a few days until you bring your own things. You can live in a nice furnished rental for 2 or 3 months and get to know the lay of the land, check out the neighborhoods. That is a great temporary solution to your problem. It does not have to be rental suites like the companies that rent a hotel room with a suite. Generally, that's not very comfortable. You can rent a small house, you can rent a small apartment, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, enough to take care of your whole family, even with pets. Consider that. There are websites to look at. I'll put a few names below. But in the meantime, that's your first choice. Second choice, you're going to rent. You're going to rent a regular apartment. Now, if you go for the nice complexes, say either downtown or out in the suburbs where they have everything, they have a pool, they have a weight room, they have meeting rooms, they have just a nice living room where you can go hang out, read a book, or talk to people if anyone's around. Those are the higher end. You're going to pay a premium. They now charge for water and sewer. I know, shocking. They have pet fees. Usually, most of them are pet friendly. And you'll pay, say you move in and 3 months later, your perfect apartment comes up, you'll pay another fee on top of that. It's expensive, but if you use these amenities, it's a fabulous lifestyle. If that's not your lifestyle, it's probably a waste of money. The fees they charge for modern rentals now: water, sewer, electricity, gas, cable, internet, pet fees. It gets very expensive. But if that's your lifestyle, there you go. Number 3, rent with a budget. If you're really trying to save money to buy something, then rent in a budget complex. Bare bones. It's usually older and it shows. A bit dated kitchens, baths, carpet, that kind of thing. Always ask for new carpet because they could be right on that borderline where the next tenant gets new carpet. And if it's due or overdue, ask. The fees are limited to security and maybe coin-operated washer dryers in the building. Sometimes water is covered for the building. Usually older buildings, it is covered. But if it's for a year and you need to save money, always check that out. Older buildings. Now, beautiful older buildings in Boston's Back Bay is another story. So we're talking about your average suburban rental property. Number 4, single-family homes, 2 to 3 unit buildings. If you are a city dweller or you want to live inside the limits of Boston or downtown Boston, 2 different worlds. If you want to live downtown, it's usually market rent, these older buildings. Nicer, well kept, often has washer dryers in the building. Older homes meaning nice woodwork, nice floors, outdoor space. If you go to one of the neighborhoods in Boston, you'll find a nice old building or a 2 or 3 unit building. Generally, the owner might live in that building as well. There'll be hardwood floors for sure. And there is a really good selection in the neighborhoods of Boston, such as Jamaica Plain, West Roxbury, Dorchester, borders Brookline too. Nice, Charlestown, hardwood floors because they were built 100 years ago. If you like to walk a lot and you don't want to worry about a car, this is a really great choice because all these neighborhoods have great transportation downtown and around. Even you can get to a commuter rail. Utilities are limited to gas, electric, and internet. You'll pay those 3 things. The landlord almost always pays sewer and water. So whether you like city living or the suburbs, downtown like the financial district, the seaport area, the Back Bay, these are historic or newer neighborhoods. Seaport's a newer neighborhood, but they're very expensive. You probably won't have a washer dryer in your unit unless it's super modern. The North End, Beacon Hill, these places, there's nowhere to park, but maybe you'll Uber everywhere or take the T, which is public transportation. East Boston is included in that, and the waterfront section of East Boston are all new properties. Many college grads choose to share a place in these very expensive areas, Beacon Hill, East Boston, because it's close to everything, and if you're going to stay there a couple of years, it's fun. You can walk to restaurants. Other neighborhoods are like mini towns. I'm going to mention Rosendale, Jamaica Plain, West Roxbury, Dorchester. They each offer their own little downtown area. There's lots of small shops, not necessarily a lot of chain stores, but mom and pop places. So they offer their own charm. They also have great public transportation and zip car stations. So if you only use a car once a week, you can get on the zip car program, pick up and keep the car for the day and bring it back the next day or later in the day. That's another option, cheaper than owning and housing your car. So these little neighborhoods have pharmacies and hardware stores, a small family-owned place like that. Now, Brookline is a lot like Boston. It kind of infiltrates Boston. The border is, you don't know if you're in Boston or Brookline, but there's tons of brownstones, huge amount of apartments and condominiums, and it's great. But I would live right on public transportation line if you're in Brookline, because if you have a car, you have to take it off the street in the evening or it'll be towed. So it's off street parking only. Many city-filling neighborhoods for college students, restaurants, bookstores, theaters, that's Brookline, where it butts up against Boston, near Boston University. Boston's rich with history, diversity, access to anything you want. The cost of having a real estate agent work with you to find you an apartment is usually 1 month's fee. So if your rent's $3,500, hire an agent. Once you sign a lease, you owe that agent $3,500. Once in a while, that money will be split between your agent and an agent representing the seller. So narrow down what you're looking for, and using an agent will save you a lot of money. And if there's competition for a particular apartment, that's when you want to have an agent. They know tips and tricks that will sweeten your offer, just like buying a house, but they're not going to do competitive offers for rentals. Just, sweeten the deal. But anyway, it's not always like that. Suburban areas, beautiful complexes, you find out usually 60 days before you're going to rent. So if someone's leaving, they need to give notice 60 days for these nicer buildings. In that 60 days, they're going to get ready to get in there, clean it, do any repairs, and then it's ready for use. So there are fees associated with these things too. Water and sewer, now the nicer places charge. You pay your own water and sewer. And there are certain rules you need to know. They usually have a pool. And there are a lot of long-term people at these nicer places. So if I can be of service, don't hesitate to reach out. And I'll see you at the next video. Have a great day. And thanks for watching.